Well, I suppose, firstly, there has always been a legacy commitment here among the strumming parties for a rebuild of Casement Park in line with all of the other sporting stadiums, Windsor Park, Ravenhill, now Kingspan Stadium. So in that sense, the commitment has always been there. But the Labour government's announcement late on Friday, I suppose, probably brings clarity now to allow the respective organisations, namely the GAA and others, to examine what will be their contribution going forward. I want to make it very clear, I'm not against the rebuilding of Casement Park, but we have to be very realistic as to the challenges facing people in today's world. I mean, we had an announcement last week which seen pensioners' fuel being cut. We have other difficult decisions when it comes to special educational needs and the funding of childcare and other public sectors within Northern Ireland, namely the health service. So it's about prioritisation now, and whilst we can and will stay committed to the original funding agreement, it's about being equitable across all sports who continue to face those challenges.
Granted, but if you look at the past Conservative government and now obviously Labour government, we were just waiting to hear from the British government how much money they were going to pledge, and they never said, whether it be months ago, that they weren't going to pledge any money. So is this bad faith, just in terms of now finally we know that they won't be giving any money towards it?
Well, I suppose the Labour Party will have to answer whether or not it's an act of bad faith or not on their part. I can only say where we have been in this journey. We've been very clear and consistent. Yes, the rebuilding of Casement Park was committed to alongside the other sporting stadium, alongside equitable need in terms of funding allocation from the Northern Ireland Executive. That position hasn't changed. It would be unfair of us to do so. So now is the case where we are today, that, remember, this Casement Park saga has been dogged with challenges, whether that's been planning challenges from local residents that had concerns regarding the size and scale of the stadium, and indeed other issues. But what is important, and I know there seems to have been what looks like a missed opportunity in relation to bringing the Euros tournament to Northern Ireland, and that is regrettable. But what I would say is that first and foremost, the legacy from the Euros has to be for the sporting code in which it belongs to. Where is the legacy for football? And that is something now that I think the IFA and indeed the Communities Minister needs to turn their minds to.
Hey everyone, in politics, ministers often choose the right moment to bury bad news, and last Friday was no different. The Labour government delivered a major blow to Northern Ireland by pulling funding for the Casement Park, a sports ground that was expected to receive significant financial support from the central government. This decision not only impacts efforts to improve community relations through sport, but also sends a message to Unionists about how much Westminster truly cares about Northern Ireland, which is not at all. DUP politicians try to put a positive spin on it, but it highlights that if austerity is happening in England, Northern Ireland is likely to suffer even more. The Speaker then shifted focus to the broader issue of government funding, mentioning how they were waiting to hear from the British government about financial pledges that never materialised. He suggested that it's up to the Labour Party to explain whether this is an act of bad faith. What stands out here, though, is how Unionists are redirecting criticism towards the Labour Party rather than the British government, showing a reluctance to criticise Westminster directly. It's sort of a fan service, avoiding criticism of the British government even when it's warranted. Beyond the politics of Casement Park, there's a broader issue of Westminster's indifference towards Northern Ireland. Keir Starmer has a strong majority, and even if Labour lost all the seats it won in Scotland, they would still maintain a comfortable majority. This leaves Scottish Labour MPs with limited leverage over Starmer, and when it comes to Northern Ireland, the situation is even more pronounced. There are no Labour MPs in Northern Ireland, and the DUP, which was once part of a coalition, no longer holds any sway. The stark reality is that Northern Ireland has virtually no leverage over the current British government. If Keir Starmer and his government decide to send more money to Northern Ireland, there's little anyone can do about it. If Keir Starmer and his government decide not to send more money to Northern Ireland, there's little anyone can do about it. This is particularly damaging to Unionists. You must now grapple with how to defend a union that seems incredibly one-sided. The Conservatives have long touted themselves as the Conservative and Unionist party, but actions speak louder than slogans. When it comes to Brexit or protecting the union, Brexit won every time. Labour, too, has made it very clear that they won't provide additional funding for Casement Park, despite previous hints of support from the Northern Ireland Secretary. Northern Ireland often feels like an afterthought in the broader UK political landscape. The closure of Harland and Wolff, an iconic industry in Northern Ireland, barely registered in British media. It's a stark reminder that for many people in Great Britain, Northern Ireland's issues are out of sight and out of mind. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. As always, I'm Jake from Just Jake, and I'll see you next time. You actually made it to the end of the video. If you would like to subscribe to the channel, which, why haven't you already, is somewhere over there. And also, if you want to watch more videos, also check out over there. I've been Jake from Just Jake. See you later.